Hey y'all, it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and today we're continuing with our 2025 seed starting series, and we're going to be working with petunia seeds today. Okay, so I started growing petunia seeds a little over a year ago, and it went wonderfully. I will say I've actually tried petunia seeds multiple times in the past, but I didn't take time to actually really do the process correctly and didn't have as much success. And then this last year, I really just focused, made sure that I followed exactly what the requirements were, and I had amazing success with the petunias. And I really enjoyed growing them. They brought a lot of joy. They flowered during late winter, like inside, which was very cool. And they saved me a ton of money because I really like to add a lot of petunias to my front garden, especially to add a lot of beautiful early spring color. Now, petunias don't last as long in my area. We usually have them spring through early summer, and then middle to late summer, it's just too hot for petunias in my area. Typically, we either cut them all the way back, make sure they're well watered, and hope they come back for the fall. Or if you're like me, I consistently just rip them up, start new seeds, and then plant new plants out in the fall, which works really, really well for me. So really for me, for petunias, we get spring, early summer, and fall for petunias. Now I will say that I still have petunias growing outside right now because we've had such a warm winter. They even made it through our first freeze, which is really good. But I usually buy anywhere from 4 to 6 flats of petunias every year, and I buy some larger ones. I love all the super petunias. Last year was the first year I did not buy any super petunias because I grew all my own, and I was just really happy with how they turned out. So I didn't have to buy any super petunias to fill any spaces last year, which is a big cost saver because super petunias are pretty pricey. Now I will say nothing compares to specifically a bubblegum super petunia. There's nothing I've ever grown compares to that. So if you want that specific look, stick to your super petunias. But if you're open to trying some new varieties, textures, and patterns, I have a wide variety of seeds that I'm going to be starting that you might love. Okay, so petunias are popular for adding color, texture, and pattern to your garden. They come in a wide variety of colors, which is really fun. I find myself drawn to doubles that are just almost like rose and peony-like. They're so beautiful. And I also find myself drawn to the petunia blooms that are really large blooms, which is definitely different than what you'll find for the super petunias, which are more kind of classic colors and textures. So petunias are known for being long flowering. They are annuals, and pretty much everybody grows them as annuals. However, they can reseed, which is always beneficial. Typically, they never reseed in an area that I want them to reseed in. So what I end up doing a lot of is I just dig up that little seedling and move it to wherever I want within my garden. They are considered low maintenance. However, they may need to be deadheaded or pinched back throughout the season to encourage more branching and more blooms. There are a wealth of pests and diseases that they can get. Typically in my area, I deal with aphids is my main issue with them, and I deal with a lot of iron deficiency for petunias in my area. They turn yellow throughout the season because they're not getting the nutrients that they want. So adding fertilizer when planting them is super important. They're massive pollinator attractors. They love full sun, so that's minimum 6 to 8 hours of sun each and every day. We talked about how for me, they bloom spring, early summer, and fall. There's a ton of different varieties. There's trailing, there's hedge, multiflora, there's spreading, there's upright. There's a lot of different ones, and I've grown almost all of them, which is really fun. You can get them in a wide variety of sizes, anything from like something really nice and compact, 6 to 8 inches, to things that spread 3 to 4 feet. Okay, before we get them started from seed, I'm going to talk about some of the varieties that I'm growing. Some of them are a little traditional, but most of them are a little bit more interesting. The one I'm probably most excited about this year is called Tickled Pink Petunia, and it's a new type of petunia. Tickled Pink Petunia carries a fragrant 2-inch bright rose purple flower on plants with a climbing habit when grown on strings, trellis, and inside a wire support such as a tomato cage. Plants are fast growing, weather resistant, and grow 6 feet tall or more. It's an annual, and I did get 10 seeds in this particular packet. And I really feel like this is based off of the wild petunia that you might see on the sides of the roads, especially in the North Texas area. And I'm really excited to grow these on the trellis on the back part of my backyard garden. I think that'll be really pretty. I want to grow them mixed in with my clematis vines back there. I think it'll be really, really nice. So I did get 10 seeds of that. We're going to start all 10 seeds. I did want to preface saying that these petunia seeds, I bought them for all different reasons. Some of them for containers, some of them for landscape, some of them for climbing, all different kinds of areas. So I tried to get a wide variety of different types of petunias to meet the needs of each of those spaces. Now, the next petunia I got is Super Cascade Rose Petunia. It's a huge 4.5-inch bright rose pink flowers on branching 15-inch tall, 12-inch wide annuals, a superb choice for hanging baskets, pots, and borders. And this is 50 seeds in this particular one, and we're probably going to start all 50 seeds. The next variety, I ended up getting 2 packets because they only had 10 in them, and I've grown this variety before and I love it. This is Shockwave Deep Purple Petunia. Heavy, early flowering plants cloak themselves in dazzling, self-cleaning 1.5-inch to 2-inch vibrant, dark, rosy purple flowers. These 7 to 10 inch tall by 30 to 36 inch wide plants tolerate heat, humidity, rain. It's an annual, and like I said, 10 pelleted seeds. So I did buy 2 packets of that. This one is gorgeous. And don't be confused by the deep purple. It's more of a fuchsia in my opinion. Next is a double cascade mix, and I bought 2 of those. This is a mix of different colors. So impressive 4-inch ruffled carnation-like flowers in a gorgeous 5-color mix, including blue, burgundy, orchid, soft pink, and pink. Grows 10 to 15 inches tall and spreads 10 to 12 inches wide. It's an annual. Packet is 30 pelleted seeds, and I love this one for tucking in containers and front borders. And I love the doubles. I'm obsessed with the doubles. I have some right now out in those vintage urns in the backyard. A really deep kind of purplish blue color that are just stunning, and there is nothing compared to these double petunias. They are so worth the grow if you are interested. And then the last one is really out of the box. It is a Prism Sunshine Petunia. So it's huge, 3 to 3.5 inch flowers are yellow in the centers with creamy yellow edges. They are uniform and compact annuals. A packet is 50 pelleted seeds. And I got this just to break up a little bit of the color palette. I think that I'm going to focus these in clusters in different areas of the front garden and back garden to break up my typical color scheme I do, which is purples, pinks, and blues. And I think adding this yellow just to add a little bit of contrast will help keep the garden more interesting through the entire season. Okay, so we're going to be starting those now. I have had a lot of people asking about my garden journal. I do have a video coming up, and I will get that up in December where I will talk about my garden journal, and then I'm also going to be talking about my process with my calendars within my garden journal. How I do my little post-it setup, and then I put them into my calendar. So we will talk about that and approach that later in December. I promise I have not forgotten. Okay, so my basic seed starting supplies. I have a video on all my seed starting supplies. I will drop that down into the video description. If you're interested, most of them are linked on my Amazon storefront, which is also, there's also a link in my video description. So I've got my portable seed starting mat that is waterproof, and the soil we're going to start with is Burger BM7, which is my favorite potting soil. I do not use a seed starting mix for budget purposes. I like this mix so just fine. It does have some larger bark pieces in it. I haven't found that it's causing any issues with starting my seeds. It does have a nice fine texture for the rest of it. And I'm very happy with the quality compared to the price I'm paying. It's not the cheapest soil, but it's certainly not the most expensive. And it does really work well for my needs. And like I said, I don't use a seed starting mix for a couple of reasons. It's more expensive. Secondly, it has no nutrients in it, which means I need to start fertilizing earlier or pot up earlier, which is also an additional expense adding more fertilizer earlier. So it just works better for me to do regular potting soil. And you can see I was just going through with my hands, making sure to work out any like lumps or clumps. because you want the roots to be able to get easily through the soil. So next we're going to be working with my Amazon seed starting trays, and I love these seed starting trays. They're very appropriate for a small gardener like myself, and I have to itch my head, but I have soil all over my hands. If you're a gardener, you know the no. So it comes with a water reservoir, a 12 seed starting tray, and a humidity dome. It usually comes in packs of 5, 8, 10, 20, something along those lines. I have several packs. And the seed starting trays, my seed starting trays are dirty. I don't typically clean them. Works fine for me. And I just come through with my soil just like that. And I use a couple of fingers to press down into the soil. Oh my gosh, I've just done this so many times over the years. And these particular petunias are surface sow, so I'm going to go ahead and fill my soil all the way up to the top. So just like that. We don't want to compact the soil too much because it can hinder the roots going through the soil. So it's really just kind of a light compaction when you're creating this, when you're filling these trays. And we're going to need a lot of trays today. Now I know I'm using these smaller containers. Petunias is probably one of the few seeds that I could use, like one of those larger 72-inch or 72 seed cell containers with, because I do start a lot of them. But when you consider that you're paying anywhere from $20 to $30 for a flat of petunias, I save a lot of money doing it this way. I save at least 60 to 70%. Which really adds up for a small gardener like myself. Okay, so next in the process is lining up my water reservoirs. And you probably noticed that I started with dry soil. That's just a particular style that works for me, seed starting style that works for me. I don't like starting with the moist soil and compacting it. I like to start with the dry soil, put water in the water reservoirs, and then allow it to soak up from below. Okay, so I've got all my seed starting trays lined out. I was just thinking I might switch to my Vigo trays for some of these. They're not my favorite, but I have them on hand and I really want to get all of my petunias started at the same time. So we might do these first and then switch to those. I am filling these all up at least 50% of the way. Typically I go more like 60. All right, and then we just go through and put our containers in. And because this is potting soil, this method works really, really well. This method, this dry soil method, does not work nearly as well with seed starting mix. So if you are doing seed starting mix, I highly encourage you to moisten your soil prior to putting it in your seed cells. But you can see that it soaks it up real quick. Okay, so petunia seeds are surface sow, which means they sit right on the top of the surface. Because they need light for germination. The first variety we're going to start with is the Shockwave Deep Purple Petunia. These have a coating. These are what's called pelleted. So they have like a soft water dissolvable coating on the top of them because petunia seeds are so tiny. So typically the coating is going to be yellow or white, and it allows you to see the seed so much better. And a little disappointed because I only got 9 seeds out of the 10 promised, so that's no fun. Not super excited about that. I did get 2 packages of the Shockwave Purple. Maybe this one will have an extra one in it. I think it does, so that would be great. And I am putting a single seed in each container. This does great with a single seed. Yes, this particular packet had 1 extra seed, so I did end up getting 10 each. I'm going to gently press this down to make sure it has good contact with the soil, making sure that I'm not moving it from one container to the next. And I am going to dust these with a little bit of vermiculite. Vermiculite works really well for surface sown seeds because it really helps keep things moist on top, which is what you need to happen during the germination process. So I'm just doing a light dusting of vermiculite. You can buy a bag of vermiculite at pretty much any nursery or big box store, just like that. Okay, and then I am going to label each of them with the name and the date that we are sowing them. That just makes it a little bit easier for me to remember and confirm that they are on track or if they are having germination issues. All right, and then we are going to put the humidity dome on top, making sure that the dial is closed. Okay, got all of those going. I ended up using my Vigo trays, seed starting trays for the double cascade. That is these trays. They're not my favorite, but I have them, so I'm going to use them. I'm not going to get rid of them. They come with it's a whole thing. It was too many pieces to buy. Like you have to buy this separate, you have to buy the top separate, you have to buy the water reservoir separate. It's just too difficult and too expensive for the quality I was receiving. Now, I have a Jiffy top on the top of all the Vigos that I stuck in one tray. I don't love the Jiffy tops. Like, they're just not very good. There are better tops, but I don't do a lot of big containers like this that need a large top, so I've never invested in additional ones. Okay, so these take about 7 to 10 days to germinate. They need to be on heat mats because they need to be kept at 72 to 76 degrees Fahrenheit in order to germinate. And they need minimum 16 to 18 hours of light per day. So mine will be under my grow lights. This will not work on a windowsill, just so you know. And then surface sow, we did that, one per cell, and we added vermiculite to keep it moist on top to help with germination process. You want to start these about 10 to 12 weeks prior to wanting to plant them out. I will have to pot these up, and I will need to fertilize these multiple times once they get their first set of true leaves, and then I can start fertilizing once a week at about half strength. When I say true leaves, the first set of leaves that you see when a seedling germinates, those are seed leaves. This next set of leaves that you see are the first set of true leaves. And so that's important to know. I fertilize utilizing Alaskan fish emulsion fertilizer, and I do it at probably way less than half strength. And it is a water soluble fertilizer that I just add to the containers. And I will have videos with seedling updates showing you how I fertilize these and how I'm caring for these and any issues I'm having with these and all of those good things as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get these set up on heat mats. I'm going to need to do a little bit of adjusting here to make room for everybody, but let's go ahead and get the first big container up there and out of the way so it's easier to move. Now, I have lights under here, half of which are out. I still need to order a new set. I've just forgotten and haven't gotten it done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be tight. Okay, so we've got all of these on here. Make sure that my lids are on secure because sometimes they can get bumped around a little bit. There we go. Making sure everybody is good. So they're on the heat mats and they are underneath grow lights. My grow lights are on 16 hours a day. Now, they are too far away from this light. When the time comes and they start to germinate, I will take the lids off when at least 50% of the container is germinated. Take the lids off, remove it from the heat mat, and move it much closer to the light. Typically, I'll move it to my other shelves that I have over here. So let me show you what those geraniums look like that I just moved over there. All right, so I typically start and germinate all my seeds over here. And then they get moved over to this particular setup. And over here, you can see all my geranium seeds coming to fruition. They're looking really, really good. And there's no heat mat on these. They are under the lights, but you can see they're much closer to the lights. You want your seedlings within 4 to 6 inches of the light. That keeps them from getting super leggy. So basically what I'll do is eventually those will go in one big water reservoir to make life a little bit easier. But once these start to germinate, I'll take the lids off, take them off the heat mats, and they will get moved to this shelf to continue growing. Okay, so we are good to go on the petunias. Very excited to see them because they start blooming in late winter inside, and I love it. It's super fun. Last year I started them in November, and that was too early. So here I am mid-December, starting them, and I think that'll be really good. When I'm starting things like petunias, I start them far enough ahead of time that I feel like I have a nice, big, beautiful plant when I go to plant it outside in my garden. I want it to feel like I picked up a flat from the nursery, like nice and full and beautiful. And that really works for me and really like supplies like this need in myself to buy pretty plants. So now I'm producing and growing these pretty plants. And so that's why I'm starting them at this point in time based on my particular area and my particular zone. For yourselves, you need to look at your last frost date, count back 10 to 12 weeks or more if you want bigger plants, and start the seeds at that point in time. Like I said, my seed starting journey is, I love the joy of starting them, of growing, of caring for them throughout the time during the winter inside, and then finally bringing these big, beautiful blooms outside. It's the whole process that I love, and so I don't mind the labor, how labor intensive it is to care for these, because it brings me so much joy. And then of course I end up with flowers in the end. Also, it's a huge money saver. Like I said, typically a flat of petunias is going to be anywhere from $20 to $30, depending on the variety and the nursery that you're purchasing from. That typically is going to include 18 to 20 small plants. And so now I've got a lot started. And so I typically will save about 60 to 70% of what I would typically spend. And so that's some really good savings. I mean, that's at least $10 to $12 per flat that I'm saving, which can be applied in other places, which is wonderful. And with the way costs are going up, I think that that's really good to go ahead and explore this. I also love that it gives me control, that I can grow things. I don't have to buy everything from the nurseries. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still going to be buying stuff from the nurseries because I love plant shopping. It's super fun. There's lots of things that I'm not able to grow that they are able to grow. But doing something as simple as petunias is a really good starting place if you are really wanting to get into some seed starting with a little bit of joy in growing these, and then also saving some money for your gardening experience. All right, you guys, hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you're going to be starting petunia seeds and what particular varieties you're going to grow. Last year I grew a lot of Dollar Tree seeds, petunia seeds, which were spectacular. So if you are really wanting to save some costs, swing by Dollar Tree. You're typically not going to see them until probably January, but that's still fine. You still have time. But pick up some seeds for 50 cents, you know, at the Dollar Tree, and grow those petunia seeds, because I had a lot of luck and they grew really big and whimsical. They were glorious. But let me know what varieties you're going to be growing this year. I'm really excited about the particular ones. Some of these are new for me. Some of these are old for me. I did not grow some of the typical ones I grow, so I was kind of forcing myself out of my box, which I think will be really good. As always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Every time you like and comment, it helps grow the channel so much. And if you don't feel comfortable in leaving a comment below, just drop me an emoji below, letting me know that you made it to the end of the video and that you say hi. And be sure to check me out on my social media outlets, including Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.